Hey there, and welcome to the Girl Means Business podcast, the show that's all about helping photographers just like you build a thriving business without sacrificing your sanity. I'm your host, Kendra Swalls, a former teacher turned full-time photographer and marketing coach, here to fill your earbuds each week with practical tips, real-life stories, and a whole lot of encouragement. So if you're ready to dive in, let's get to it because this girl means business. Hey friend, and welcome back to the Girl Means Business podcast. Today's episode comes out of a conversation I recently had with a photographer friend of mine over coffee. She's not a coaching client, we're just friends. We'd met for coffee, catching up, talking business, all the things. And she mentions to me that she was struggling with content for her business, for her photography business. And we kind of started talking about it, and I was giving her ideas and suggestions. And then it occurred to me what her actual problem was. And it's a really, really common problem. It's one that a lot of photographers face, especially early on in your business. And it's this idea that your business is for everybody. It's the idea that you are trying to market your business to everybody, when in reality, you don't want your business to be for everybody. And I'm going to break this down because this is a mindset shift. So this episode is going to have some practical advice, but a lot of this is going to be about how do we shift our mindset so that we are comfortable really honing in on who our business is for, as well as who it is not for. Because a lot of times you'll hear me say, and you'll hear other experts say, know your ideal client, find your ideal client. It's just as important to kind of know who it's not designed for. And I'll give you some examples of this as we go through it. But ultimately, when you look at other brands, and this is something that I love to do, just kind of, my brain just works this way. I've sort of trained it to work this way, is I love looking at what other brands are doing outside of photography, big brands, small brands, all the things. And the really successful ones, the ones that really stand out to me, are the ones who have a very clear message behind who their product or service is for. So an example of this, kind of out in the real world, outside of photography, is Planet Fitness. So Planet Fitness is a gym that's kind of all over. They have different gyms that pop up of their franchise. And I've seen their advertisements come across the TV, and it kind of occurred to me recently when I was watching one. I was like, oh, they are very clearly targeting a specific audience and excluding, almost very blatantly, just excluding a certain other audience. So Planet Fitness is all about fitness for the everyday person. And so when you go onto their website, when you go onto their socials, when you are looking at their advertisements that they do on television, everything about them is very much geared towards the average kind of beginner, intermediate gym user. Every photo is of someone who's maybe a little bit older, not someone who's super in shape, a lot of times you'll see these gyms and they are advertising to the people who are bodybuilder types almost, or super fitness enthusiasts. Planet Fitness is not doing that. They want to be known, and they want to gear their marketing towards the average gym goer who's I just want to lose a little bit of weight, maybe gain a little muscle, and just be healthy. And so by doing that and kind of actively making fun of the gym bro or bro, whatever you call it, the big, muscle builder guys and the super fitness and influencer types, they're actively kind of saying you're not welcome here in a very, kind of humorous way. But it specifically targets who their messaging is for, and it allows them to then create an entire brand that feels very inviting and very welcoming and very safe for this specific audience to then walk into. Because as someone who, I work out at home for a lot of reasons, but one of them being I get intimidated when I go to some of the gyms that I've been members of in the past. It's very intimidating to walk into those gyms and you see people who are clearly there all the time. They know exactly what to do, what every machine does. I'm just kind of in my little, don't look at me, I'm going to go get on the treadmill for a little while. And then maybe I'll see someone using a machine that I will go copy what they did. But it's intimidating and it's very overwhelming for a lot of people to go into a gym. And so Planet Fitness has said, through everything they're putting out into the ether, to the world, they're saying like, hey, we are for you. We're going to help you. We're going to welcome you. You're going to feel like you have a place here. You don't feel like you're going to be intimidated. They've taken all that away. Now, on the flip side, if they were specifically targeting like these, fitness influencer types, the bodybuilder types, the high-end athletes types, it would be a completely different marketing plan. All of their messaging would be going in a completely different direction. Now, imagine that you're a gym trying to do both of those things. You are on one hand saying, we are going to help you like reach elite status. We'll help you gain muscle. We've got everything you need to bulk up. We got all the supplements, all the things. But on the other side, you're over here saying, we welcome you if you're brand new. We want you to feel comfortable. We want you to feel like, like we'll help you through learning how to use the machines. It's not an intimidating place to be. It's two conflicting messages. It's very mixed messages. And it's really hard to keep the two separate. And it's really hard to blend those two things when they're kind of in opposition of each other. So with your photography business, it may not be that your things are in opposition of each other, but it is going to be harder to brand yourself and put your message out into the world if your message is not specific to a certain type of person. So with photography, I'll give you an example in my own photography business. And if you've listened to the podcast, you probably have heard the story before, but just bear with me. When I moved into doing boudoir photography, my immediate response or my immediate thought was, I've been doing weddings. I have a warm audience of brides who will want to do boudoir sessions. It's a perfect transition. I was marketing to those brides. I quickly realized that was not my target audience. I was not drawn necessarily to those brides. I was drawn more towards like the woman in her late 30s, early 40s who had like kids that were elementary or upper, and she was trying to kind of reclaim herself in this different phase of life. It was really hard for a while for me to try to market to both because I'm trying to market to like the 40-year-old mom who wants to feel good in her own skin after she's had kids. She struggles with her weight. She struggles with like what society pressures put on her to be a good mom and to look a certain way and to do all these things. She's trying to be a wife, a good, employee, a good sister, a daughter, all the things. At the same time, I'm trying to then speak to this like 24-year-old bride who is gorgeous and is planning her wedding and is wanting to do all the Instagram worthy things and has, complete body confidence, all the things. And so it's two totally different groups of people. And it's really, really hard. And it was really hard, which is why I stopped doing it. It was really hard to try to do both. To be like, hey, bride, come get really sexy photos for your husband. And then turn around and go, hey, these photos are really, to the 40-year-old mom, these are really for you. You can give them to your husband or you can give them to whoever, but they're really for you to help you feel better about yourself. It just it was too difficult. And I didn't like feeling like I was dividing my attention in all these different places. And I felt like it was hurting my bookings because people were coming to my website or going to my socials and were kind of confused on where they saw themselves in my brand. So when I really went all in on, I really connect with these, mid-age, I hate saying middle-aged, these women in their 30s and 40s, these moms, I really connected with that because that's where I am in my life too. And once I started really, really focusing all of my messaging on that, it just completely took off. Like it drew in clients like a magnet. So when I was talking to my friend the other day and we were having this conversation, I told her that story. We had this whole, everything I've just gone through with you, I'd gone through with her too. And one of the things that she said to me was, she was like, I hear you. You've been preaching this to me forever. I've listened to all the things. I know I'm supposed to like really have a specific audience I'm talking to. She said, but it makes me nervous to exclude people because I feel like it is leaving money on the table. It feels like I am like not opening myself up to what comes my way. So I said, I get that. That is a very, very common fear that people have around niching down, around choosing an audience. anything that kind of hones your focus, people get very nervous about for a good reason. It makes sense. Our brains are kind of wired for like, we want all the things. We want to just kind of like spread our arms out and drag everything in that we can. But the reality is that it's not about pushing people away and creating scarcity. That's not what's happening. So again, I'm a very visual person. So this was the kind of visual analogy that I gave her. Imagine that you're in like a big conference room, like a big convention room, and you have all these chairs. Let's say you have 100 chairs lined up, and you bring in just a random smattering of 100 people off the street, and you say, come sit in these chairs. And you sit them down, you have people from all different backgrounds, and they're different phases of their life, and they're looking for different things. They have different fears, they have different hopes and dreams and careers and ethnicities and income levels and locations. There's just like a smattering of all the things. And you are up there going, I need to sell my photography services to each and every single one of them. Well, you only have one website, mostly. You probably only have one social media. Like, if you only have one avenue to sell to all these different people and you can't personalize it for every single person, you're going to have a problem. Because at some point, people are gonna be like, this isn't for me, and they're gonna walk out, and that's fine. But the fear that this person had, and the fear a lot of you probably have listening to this, is that in your mind, you're thinking, okay, if I have 100 chairs, 100 people, and I go, I'm not for you, I'm not for you, I'm not for you, and you send, 60 of those people out of the room. You're like, my business is only for like this group of like 40 of you. In our minds, we're thinking that when those 60 people leave, they take their chair with them and there's nowhere else for new people to come into. That we are now left with just this one little small group of 40 people. That is not true. That is a scarcity mindset. That scarcity mindset tells us that there is a limited number of people out there who are available for us to work with in our business. And that if we send some of them away because they're not our target audience, that we are limiting ourselves to a smaller pool of people. When the reality is that when you send those 60 people away and they don't take their chairs with them, they just leave, and now you have 60 empty chairs, and you can fill those 60 empty chairs with new people who fit your target audience. So whereas the beginning, you had 100 chairs with 100 random people in it and no direct path to like connect with each one. You sent 60 of them away, and then you filled in the gaps with new people who fit your audience, your target audience, and you can now have one message, one brand, one clear path to connect with all of them. So in the case of my boudoir clients, I sent away all of those like 22-year-old brides, and I made room for all of these 40-year-old moms to come in. And then I could say, guys, now that it's just us in the room, well, let's talk about what life really looks like at this age and how I can help you feel really good about yourself. And that message resonated with them, because the random 22-year-old that might come in that room and grab a chair is going to be like, oh, I don't have kids and I feel pretty good about myself and this isn't for me. And she might still book with me. I still, do have clients that are not my ideal audience that still book with me, and that's fine. But I have a very clear path of how I'm going to connect with that specific audience that is for me. So we have to get rid of the mindset that there's a scarcity, there's a scarcity within our business, within our industry. There's only a limited number of clients. There's not a limited number of clients. There's not. There's just not. I mean, I guarantee that no matter where you live, there are more clients, more potential clients in your area than you could actually work with in 1 year. There's just the number wise, like unless you live on a remote island somewhere with 10 people and just you and 10 people, the likelihood that you are limited in the capacity of how many people live in your area versus how many people you have the potential to work with, it's just not a scarcity thing. I've used this example before when kind of talking about this topic is, I live in an area, I live in a very small town, Okay. I live out kind of in the middle of nowhere. I'm close to Dallas Fort Worth, but I'm a good 45 minutes away from either one of those or more. And where I live, if I drive 10 to 15 minutes in any direction, I'm going to hit at least 3 or 4 high schools any direction. If I am a high school senior photographer, even if I just photograph high school senior girls, if there are 10 high schools within a driving distance of my area, I can't possibly photograph all of those high school senior girls. It's just not humanly possible. And so my audience pool, even though I'm really specific in who I'm targeting, high school girls, high school seniors that are girls, it's a very small pool considered humanity wise, but it's still a big enough pool that if there are 10 photographers in my area doing the same exact thing, we all still have enough clients to stay booked and busy. It's just, that's how the numbers work. So this idea that if you really hone in on one niche or one target audience, you're going to run out of people to work with, we've got to just kick that idea out of the way, because it's not the reality. It's just the story you've made up in your head about why you're not getting bookings. That's not the reality of the world we live in. There are more people in your area, in your target audience, than you probably realize. It's a marketing issue. It's a, how do I actually reach those people? How do I actually connect with those people? And it starts with creating a brand, creating a message that attracts them, that calls them out, that makes them feel seen, and that makes them kind of stop and go, oh, I want to learn more about this because that sounds like me. So what's she talking about and how can I work with her? That is ultimately what narrowing down who you're talking to does in your business. So I know this was kind of a soapboxy episode, but again, having that conversation with my friend, really kind of got my gears turning about the fact that this is a problem a lot of photographers deal with. And the idea that, I need to be for everybody and I will work with anybody that is willing to pay me money. We've got to be more specific in our messaging. You can still do all those other sessions. I still do tons of other sessions behind the scenes that are not specific to the message I'm putting out into the world, but I am actively marketing to a specific clientele. And it has made the biggest difference in my business when it comes to being able to really feel like I have a purpose and a plan behind the type of content, the type of wording, the type of imagery, the colors, everything, because I have a clear vision of who it's designed for, as opposed to this kind of very vague, general, people. I'm marketing to people. I'm marketing to people who will pay me. That's a very hard thing to create a brand around. So my goal for you this week is to take this information, really look at your business and go, who am I really trying to attract? And see if you can find ways. I'm not saying you have to overhaul your entire business tonight, but I do want you to go and kind of look at your current messaging, your current brand, and say, if I were sort of the person I really want to work with, if I were that person, would this brand appeal to me? If I'm trying to attract first-time moms who are very health conscious, who want everything to be super all natural, does my brand showcase that? Does my brand appeal to those people? And if it's not, if the answer is no, I want you to look for little changes you can make. Again, I don't expect you to overhaul everything at one time. It's small little changes. Small changes add up to big differences in the end. How can you make small little changes? Maybe it is just the wording on the homepage of your website. Maybe it's changing the first image people see when they come to your website. Maybe it is creating a tagline that calls out your ideal client. Maybe it's looking at the colors of your site and going, okay, if I'm really going for the sort of natural, crunchy granola mom, but my website is all big, bold, colorful, bright colors, that may not be appealing to her if she's looking for more of soft, natural, earth tones. So looking at little things like that and making small little changes is going to make a big difference in the end. So again, I don't expect you to overhaul everything, but you've got to really look at, who is it that I want to be attracting to my business? Who do I want to repel in my business? Again, if you're going back to that crunchy granola mom, then you probably want to repel the type B mom who's feeding her kids energy drinks and cereal for breakfast and, all the things. So you want to know who you're for, but you also want to know who you're not for so that you can create a brand and a message that is very clear and very specific. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you for joining me up here on my soapbox this week. I hope you will tune in again next week, and I will see you back here, same time, same place.